Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We know the drill. You know the drill. Let me know when I can start speaking.
Can see and hear you.
Awesome. So, look, another great week. Last week was pretty cool. This week was just as cool, maybe even a little cooler in some other ways. Yeah, it's hard, as I've said in some of these updates, to actually know what to say when things are going well. We've had so many times, obviously, over the last few years where we've, had to sit here and do a mea culpa, or sit here and explain why we're, going to be delayed or anything like that. But, it's just been a lot of clear sailing. So let's get right to the top 10-ish. And then we'll talk about some other things. So, number one on the list, bots. Big bots. Big battle bots. Big battles of big bots. We just did it again this week. Last week, it was the alpha folks. This week, you beta 1 folks were invited, and performance was even better this time. And in one of those things that's always so interesting when you're developing a game, people said to us who have been in both tests, wow, what did you do? It's even better this time. We didn't do a thing. Same server, same bat time, same channel, no differences. And Max just hit the camera, so if I'm going back and forth, this is all his fault. No.
Sorry.
But no, the test went fabulously. We did the same thing we did the week before, started with 240 bots, went up to 480-ish bots, and then at the end of each hour, we just cranked it up to 1K. And as the screenshot showed, and as our internal video showed, and you might want to head to the forums. So if you haven't been in the forums yet, and you haven't seen the thread on the Big Bot Battles, you might want to go there. There are not only screenshots, but some other things you might want to look at, just so you can see that, we're not pulling your lariat. We did it. We were able to get back to 1K. We were able to do it with the, even after rehabilitation. And a term I should have used before, Andrew's reanimation. I don't know why I haven't used that before, but that's what it was. Andrew's reanimation system. So we went through rehabilitation and reanimation. So those things are working very nicely together. The new and improved VFX system is working great. We've got changes going in as well over the next few weeks that will speed that up and get us more performance. But hell, 1K, 1,000 plus bots and backers. That is pretty impressive, along with the VFX and the great frame rates. So yeah, that's number one on the list. Number 2, continued performance enhancements. So Andrew and Matt have been working on a bunch of interesting things, among them improvements to how we manage memory. Okay, not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's still kind of important. We also just added a new tool called telemetry from Rad Gameworks. And that is really cool. We used it back at Old Mythic. We're using it now. It gives us a lot of insight into all the threads and what our threads are doing with the game. Now, in a lot of other engines, that wouldn't be as big of a deal. Since we're fully multi-threaded, both on client and server, having that tool, very useful for us going forward. So yeah, that's in. Memory improvements in. Realm control, for example, of terrain is working very nicely. We have more to do on it, but moving along very well. Another work in progress, got this wrong last time too. Pre-flight. And so Gabe has got the next stage of that checked in. Like memory, it doesn't sound all that exciting, but kind of necessary for doing what we're doing. And in the case of the abilities, kind of gameplay focused. So yeah, good stuff. Next, number 4, item trading. So Christina laid the groundwork for that. That's in. We're going to be doing a lot more with it very soon. We're going to be asking you folks to do something that I know none of you, I mean none of you, would ever do under any other circumstances: try to exploit. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask you to come in and try to break the system. Try to figure out, what you need to do so that what we use, the system that we will use for item trading, can be broken or can't be broken. So yeah, you're going to get a call from us to cheat and to exploit and try to break things. So I know it goes against all of your base, all of your instincts of everyone there, but I hope some of you can, find the time and effort, to help us. Next up, siege engines on buildings. Sounds a bit weird, but this is another thing that we needed for beta, and Matt put it in. It is the ability, of course, to have siege engines anchored on buildings, because you kind of need, when you're going to do a siege, to have not just giant catapults or trebuchets, but you might need other things that are on buildings and on platforms and in things other than the ground. So that's in. Next up, number 6, NPCs. Yeah, I know we talked about that for Beta 1. We're going to have some NPCs. The goal is to have some NPCs. So we've been spending some time working on the base tech as well as the base design and the base needs for Beta 1. Because even though they're not a very important part of Beta 1, having them in and having them do some basic things would be great. Next up, art, number 7, Stormwatch concepts. So, you're going to see them in today's update. You saw them last week as well. We're working on some very, very cool, very cool looking structures for the Stormwatch tier. And so that's going to be, hopefully, in sooner rather than later. But no matter what, they're going to be really cool. Number 8, the new bot testing map. So yeah, a few weeks ago I asked Tyler to create a very simple island for bot testing, large enough that it can be encircled by trees and certain, geographic features that Mark, who's working on the bots, really more than anyone right now, would suggested to make it a little easier on the bots. So Tyler's been working on that. We're going to get that in the game. We'll be testing bots in the future with you folks only at that island, and then seeing also what we can add. So as we continue to improve the frame rate, as we continue to do other things in terms of performance, we also want to then start adding more features. Because the closer that island can be, that test island can be, to the kind of demands that, I don't know, a kind of large siege might take, and the kind of VFX going off and the kind of structures there, the closer we get to that, obviously the better Beta 1 is going to be. Next up, healer VFX. So Mike has been working on creating assets for the healer, so you'll see these in the game. Number 10, more work on mines. So as you've seen from some of the concept art, some of the art, we've been moving fairly rapidly through getting our first official mine in the game. So Dion's been figuring out what's the easiest way, to break it up, to make it more like a tool or a tile set, so it can then be imported even easier by Camelot Unchained. And so that is in progress. Last up, great sword animations. So look, we've been very straightforward with you folks about how the animations are really in their first pass. We haven't tried to hide the fact that none of these animations are finished yet, or even close to finished. They're all going into the Andrew's new reanimation system. Got to say it twice. And over time, they're going to be improved. So one of the things that Ben and Scott have been working on is improving, for example, the greatsword animations. So you'll see those in the game as well in upcoming tests. So yeah, that's it for the top 10-ish list. Again, another really good week. Boy, like I said, sometimes I have a hard time figuring out what to say after all this time. But boy, oh boy, I mean, to have now 3 separate large, big bot battle tests, to have you backers come in and see what we've been working on and see it perform so well made us really happy. And we've got more stuff coming in the next 2 weeks that will make them even better. And I think I mentioned last week that we were also trying to track down a bug in the when we got to the higher end of the big bot test. And so just before this update, Tim said that we are very close. He thinks he's found at least one of the issues, and we may have another one fixed as well.
Me Huge is in chat and has a bonus top 10-ish item. Work in progress, more beta crafting UI updates.
Oh, okay. Well, you heard that from Max, so yep, that's another thank you for Me Huge. And I guess I should also mention one of the things that we've been doing differently this time with the 30-day doc is thanks to Apollon and his German team of German translators. We actually have the first phase of the document release ready to go in German at the same time. So next week, Mr. Koo will be adding both the English and German translations for the first part of that 30-day doc to the website. So as always, a giant danke to Apollon and the German translators. We appreciate it very much, and you folks will get to see that next week. In terms of testing, there won't be a test this weekend. We may leave hatchery up for our IT folks, but nothing is planned. What we're going to shoot for is next week we want to have another big bot battle, not only during the week, but over the weekend. So some of the stuff we're doing this week is in preparation for that. That'll make it easier, make it cheaper, which is good, because the big bot battle tests are not cheap. And we will let you know next week. But we certainly want to have it open to our Alpha, Beta 1, and IT folks. So many more of you can come on in and see what it's like to be in a game with 500 bots and a whole bunch of players and not see a lot of lag and not see a lot of latency that has been introduced by the company. We'll see. No promises, but we're certainly looking good as of now for that test. But we'll let you know during the week. So next, do we want to do packages or Q&A first?
Usually we open the packages at the
first.
end.
Yeah, so let's do Q&A.
All right.
All right, guys. So for today, I'll try to keep it to less than an hour because I want to get the update out. My son just got home from summer classes, so I'm eager not to leave here at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock so I can actually have dinner with my boy. So let's get to the Q&A.
All right, write up your questions for Mark. And I guess as long as we're waiting, I'll play the Q&A intro. Oh, no, wait, there's a question. Let's just get into it. Okay. Odilvik asks, or Bad Lunar Rising asks, through Odilvik, since it has been stated that swimming in armor will cause you to drown, what if the player takes the armor off and puts it in their pack? Will the weight of the pack cause them to drown, or will they have to leave the armor by the side of the water? If left by the side of the water, will the armor still be there when they come back to claim it, or will it be purged from the environment as a dropped item?
Okay. Bunch of questions there, just as I was signaling. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's in your pack, it's on your body, it all weighs. We've said right from the beginning, we're not going down the whole, oh, you got to have separate bags crafted by people in order to carry stuff. It just seems an unnecessary thing to do with this game. Weight, however, does matter. So whether you're wearing it or carrying it in your bag, you will drown holding the armor. In terms of leaving it on the side, well, I think you probably are going to have worse things happen to it than it just be purged. If you're doing this in RVR, I would expect somebody, quite frankly, to pick it up, or somebody just for fun to toss it, to pick it up and then toss it in the water. But in terms of it being purged, we plan on keeping objects on the ground around for a little bit. How long? Of course, that's to be determined. We're doing it now, as you've seen, with the boxes. So obviously the tech is there, but we'll have to just, of course, balance that out with all of a sudden, if we allow stuff to stay there too long, people will start griefing us by placing every possible object they can think of on the ground and just, leaving it there. So that's it.
Sir not appearing in this film asks, what are your plans for updating the general public? I have some non-backer and early backer friends who have all but given up on CU and want it to be good, but lost hope along the way. I can only say so much to keep them interested and hopeful.
If they're backers, send them to the forums and look for the post about the big bot battles. If they've lost hope, and loss of hope was due to whether we could carry this out or not, remember the scene from Wrath of Khan when Kirk was being shown the Genesis cave. Think about that in reference to having 1,000 other players in a space and still being able to play. Not play a slideshow, not play badly, play a game. That should give them hope. If that doesn't work, well, then they'll just have to wait a little bit, because in the next few months, especially as we get ready for beta, we'll be updating our website and we'll be streaming. So, and frankly, if being able to see all those people in the game, see the animations working, see the VFX working, see everything working the way we need it to work, if that doesn't give them hope, then nothing will. But frankly, it will give them hope. For the longest time, large-scale battles have been something so many of us RVR and PvP fans have been waiting for. No game has really been able to deliver on that well. Games have tried. Obviously, Dark Age of Camelot was hugely successful back in the early days of MMO gaming. But even we couldn't deliver, on the kind of tech we've been able to deliver on now. And that, at the end of the day, is going to be the game changer about CU. Whether, everything else is as fantastic as that, we certainly hope it is, but the odds are it won't be, because no game is. But being able to deliver those large-scale battles, to be able to show you something that, frankly, no other game can show you, that should all give us hope. And Lord knows it's made us all very happy here.
Tomanus has a two-part question. Has there been any consideration for AFK character mechanics, which leaves a player character in-game to participate in automated tasks, or is this strictly in the realm of NPC control?
Yes, we've absolutely talked about that. We've discussed the ability of crafters to be able to do that, so they can actually interface with their store, when they're offline. In terms of any other major AFKing, that isn't in the cards as of now, and we frankly haven't discussed it. But crafters, yeah, there could be a very good way, especially if we're able to create, say, a mobile app that would allow you to run your store and deal with customers from your phone versus having to log in via your PC.
And the second part of that question is, are there any other progression gain ideas as counter to hardcore gamers, or is it even a concern by design?
Oh, it's not even a concern. We've said right from the beginning that our game intends to be both casual and hardcore friendly. That's the whole point behind the progression reward system. The vast majority of games, and certainly PC-based, computer games, or video games, use a very similar system to reward achievement. Our system is quite different, and that gives us the ability, I hope, to really customize the rewards so that the guys who are hardcore players, they don't feel like they've been cheated, because you don't want the hardcore guys to think, geez, look how hard I worked and I got almost nothing compared to this casual person. On the other hand, you don't want the casual person to feel that it's such an uphill slog that they can never level the characters. And so whether it's the horizontal system, which we have been talking about from the beginning, or the progression rewards, or other things we're going to be doing, I don't want to say it's not a concern, or it's not a concern to be taken the wrong way, but it's not a concern because we have been absolutely thinking about this even before day one of the Kickstarter. So yeah, we're not really worried about it.
Adric Cortesia asks, has a lore question. Who built the portals we are going to use in beta and that John's currently sculpting, lore-wise?
Oh, that would be telling. No, that wouldn't be telling. That's not a big deal. Obviously they were built by each of the realms back in the days before the second breaking of the world. When it's funny that there's a new I don't know what we would call it, but a new construction that's going to go in the future that will be another example of what was capable before, or what these realms were capable of doing before everything blew up. And no, it's not a Planet of the Apes moment. But yeah, these were just built by the Arthurians, the TDD, and the Vikings when things were better.
Dweej L asks, do you have plans on batshit crazying player-built cities at some point in beta? Amazing verbing of that word or phrase. I mean, like conceptualizing, designing how players will build cities to kind of force players to plan how their town will be settled and not just put buildings next to other buildings and randomly get, voila, a city is there.
Yeah, that's boy, that is something we have talked about. That's something that I know players worry about, and we worry about it a lot as well, not just talk about it. Is it something that's planned for Beta 1? Only at the barest level, and that is really just how the plot system works. That's our number one focus in terms of player-built cities for the opening of Beta 1. We're not expecting them. They're not in the design. They're not in the document you folks are going to read. That doesn't come until after Beta 1. And I mean probably the whole of Beta 1.
Yozaro asks, could we get to see some work done with telemetry in one of the streams?
Sure. Actually, Brad volunteered to do that a few weeks ago. They say he wouldn't mind streaming when we get telemetry. So we'll have that scheduled at some point.
Toto Tata asks, in my opinion, it seems weird golems to be able to wear cloth and armor. Wouldn't it be better to make their body parts upgradable or replaceable like a Lego character?
It would be, but at least not for this game. Or for this game, that's not going to happen.
Odilvik says, Rek asks, what will the policy on out-of-group allied AoE abilities be? Will these be available, and if so, how will you prevent cross-healing from becoming an issue?
Okay, Rek isn't here.
Yeah, I think this was a passed on
question. Let me answer that on the forums. Because I think I know what he's saying, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Grumman asks, Mark, has Game of Thrones given you any inspiration for the game? Hint, latest episode. Hint, no spoilers.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was an incredible episode. This season has been worth all the not-so-good seasons. But, yeah, don't expect, the mother of all dragons to appear in this game. Quite frankly, the dragons that we have talked about that I envision as part of this game's lore, Yeah, comparing that to the Mother of Dragons is not a fair comparison. Just not at any level. Those dragons that we saw in Game of Thrones would be, yeah, kind of child's play for our dragons to defeat.
Tototata asks, what is the aim for how much DPS it will take to one-shot one tank? And what's the aim in seconds or minutes for a character to regenerate to full resources from low resources?
Well, the first question you know the answer to is we said that we don't want to see one-shots happen in most circumstances. So there is no such thing as hey, one-shotting a tank that we're baselining for abilities in this game. Second, in terms of regen, any answer I give right now is going to be wrong. It just will be. Whatever answer Ben would give right now is wrong. That's the sort of stuff that you work and you do, on the fly. We're going to go in with some ideas, obviously, about all that stuff, but whatever we say now won't matter I'd be shocked if it mattered in a year. This stuff changes. We have to see how the abilities feel. We have to see how combat feels like, and if we don't like it, we change it.
And Ben has discussed this in a couple of newsletter articles, I believe. Dark Society Network asks, any ideas to have certain shield abilities for large shields that tennis ball spells back?
Say that whole thing again? I think I know what he said.
Are there any ideas to have certain shield abilities for large shields that tennis ball spells back?
That's what I thought. Okay. So in terms of reflection, yes. Can that play a role in the game? Absolutely. Look at the engraving system. Look at what we've talked about in terms of what you can do. So yes, the idea that things can at least bounce off is absolutely something that we'll be looking at.
Tomanus asks, has Mine/Bubble Tech introduced consideration for more traditional lair or dungeon exploration aside from the depths?
Yeah, I was waiting for this question. Figured somebody was going to ask it at some point. Yes, of course. If you have the ability to have a very, easy to use, not necessarily easy to create, toolkit for mines, you can absolutely apply that to dungeons, to crypts, to other things. Would we like to see these in the game? Absolutely. Look, the depths is a giant dungeon. So the kind of tech that we would need to make that work would also work for smaller dungeons. So yes, we very much would like to have it. Now, just keep in mind, though, that that's still not going to turn these places into PvE paradise. It'd be great if we were making a PvE game to be able to do that, but we're not. But can we have areas that will be places of power besides the depths that are more dungeon-like, more mine-like, more crypt-like? Absolutely. It's a matter of time, and it's a matter of resources.
Odovic says, Tinnis asks, what resource will the physician use? Do they prepare or infuse potions with blood before a fight and use them with stamina during combat? Or could you just talk more generally about blood versus stamina use across class trios?
So, no, I'm not going to talk about all that in detail. That's a great question for Ben. But the physician, yes, the physician should be preparing potions beforehand, before getting into a battle. No different than archers, making sure they have enough arrows. Will things change once they're in combat? Absolutely. Will they be using different, will they be using stamina versus blood? Will they be using, when you hurl a potion, when you throw a rock, if you're a stone healer, when you do other things, than simply swinging a sword or casting and using magic, that's going to change the effect on your character.
Saccharix asks, are you going to have an iteration of design section in the beta document? It seems fairly important how CSE will iterate. since one person's view of a game system could be good versus someone else who feels that's not right for the game. What is your plan for this type of situation?
Discussion. I mean, there's really no way to answer that other than the same way we've answered that kind of question before. We talk about stuff here. We talk, to our backers. We talk, constantly about things. Documents are put up, comments are made, and we're going to do what I think we've already done so far is listen to folks and take in their opinions, as well. So, no, there's not going to be a section in the document about that because that's just how we do things. And that's how you folks have seen us do things for the last few years.
Lodoween asks, with horizontal progression for classes and limited impact from items, what will differentiate a masterpiece item by a crafter with years of experience from the basic stuff we'll be able to buy from the NPCs in the safe zone?
Well, don't forget, limited doesn't mean none, right? And one of the things I've said right from the beginning is, and this is part of my discussions here as well, is that it's not as simple, and we shouldn't make it as simple about, if you look at a sword, is it just about the damage that the sword does, or is its weight important? Its durability important? Is its look important? There are so many things that will factor in to your item that there will be a very big difference, huge difference, between an item crafted by a master craftsman and something that you get when you first come into the game. But again, it's not as simple as just damage. These other things are also quite important, and durability, for example, can be hugely important with armor. I mean, it is for swords too, but you're going to be carrying around, even with our weight limits, you can carry around more than one sword. You're not going to be carrying around 6 suits of plate armor in case one breaks. So, the differences are going to be large. Just don't expect that means, the MJ saying that, swords from the master craftsman will be like Stormbringer, and, the ones that will be, you'll be starting with are like the ones we have here that are made out of wood that we use when we're doing animation stuff.
It's Z's asks, MJ, do you watch football? And if so, who do you root for?
I used to like you at Z's. You had to remind me, didn't you? I unfortunately do like football, and even more unfortunately, I root for one of the most embarrassing teams in the NFL. Always have, always will. Diehard Jet fan for life. And oh my God, the only good thing I can say about the Jets is it makes me forget the troubles with the Knicks.
Odilvik says, Tinnis asks, can you talk about corpses as a resource? Will classes and realms be racing to consume first or deny corpses in a fight?
Consume them. Nom 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 nom.
I think there's some abilities in our example stuff on the website that use corpses.
Yes, but the idea that everyone's going to race to the all-you-can-eat buffet, I'm not sure what we have on our website that says all the races will consume corpses. So, yeah, hey, Tinnis, I'm not sure why you think there's going to be a race to consume corpses. Maybe you're thinking about souls. Could that be it? But yeah, I've seen, and thanks for some of your posts, by the way, on the forums. I have, as you know, we've exchanged a couple of messages. I'm curious about why you would think that it would be a race to get corpses. Again, if you're thinking about taking souls, spirits, etc., that's one thing, but most of the classes, won't be doing that. Again, unless you're referring specifically to trying to take part of the soul from a vanquished foe.
Negative Zero asks, has the CSE team been busy on the National Lazy Day?
We're too lazy to even know there was a National Lazy Day.
Francis asks, how are we supposed to control our character with the left-hand WASD, mouse cursor, and camera with the right hand, and still be able to press on the buttons to cast abilities?
Obviously, the UI for this game is kind of important. What we have now is just a placeholder. We're going to be doing a lot more iteration, and certainly, as we've talked about from the beginning, and you certainly have seen this, our UI is moddable by anyone. All you have to do is grab the files and go. So I am absolutely unconcerned about that, going forward, because whatever we need to do, we're going to do it, and we'll make it work.
This is an unusual way of asking this question. Lula asks, I was wondering if there is any plan to put Andrew Beard under control. This thing is going wild.
Well, that's up to Mr. Meggs. He said no shave till Bader, so, it's going.
Odilvik asks, or says, Friendly Fire asks, how will gold enter and exit the market? If fighters earn gold to spend on items, what do crafters do with all the gold they've stockpiled?
They get things from the realm. They buy things from the realm. They buy, obviously, as well, materials from players. Taxes, that sort of thing. Look, there'll be gold sinks. There need to be gold sinks. But the big thing to keep in mind, and this is really important, especially in light of things that are happening in theory to the folks at Albion Online. You guys know where I stand with gold sellers. So, this game is being designed with that idea in mind, that it won't be a gold seller friendly environment. So, you folks are going to be earning it. We're going to be taking it away at times, and you guys are going to be trading it a lot amongst yourselves. And since there's no easy way, or won't be any easy way, to generate huge amounts of excess cash, like there are in other games, the whole, hey, there's no PvE leveling thing, means that the gold supply will be much tighter, much easier to control, and not subject to farming by the gold sellers.
Dark Society Network asks, assuming you could capture and hold an island that is fairly close to an enemy's homeland, and as such had to travel through a row of closer islands to get added to your own home continent, how will it pass by those other islands? Will it push them aside? I think he's saying if you have to cross some neutral islands and conquer an island, what happens to the islands in the middle?
But what's pushing them? Are you asking about the use of stabilizers to push islands? Because I'm not sure how you could push an island yourself.
I think that's what he means.
Okay, so we'll go with that assumption. Could an island essentially push another island away? Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is just a question of mass. So yeah.
All right, folks. Skipping a few questions down. Odilvik says, Rygar asks, in addition to regular assets, could you spawn other procedurally generated meshes created within the same editor? For example, could it be noted an island mesh that spawns procedurally generated rock meshes, which in turn spawn procedurally generated snail meshes, which in turn spawn procedurally generated snail slime meshes, and so on until the server melted down?
And French people to eat them? Got it. Someone's got to eat them. I love snails. I actually love escargot. No. We're not going that far, not with this game, certainly, and not with this engine. The procedural generation work we do is not that multi-level, multi-layer, hey, just hit a few, enter a few numbers or twist a few dials and you have, a fully functional world with flora and fauna. We are not going that far with it. Not now, certainly.
Olvik says, Lucilius asks, will CC consider permitting Bane and Boon respecs in cases where balance adjustments cause cascading issues with player builds?
Yeah, we've said that right from the beginning. We screw up, respecs are free and are given out, happily. Like we've said before, we're not, we don't want a flavor of the month game. But when we do something dumb, and if dumb requires a rebalancing, or not even dumb requires, but we just need to do a rebalancing, of course, we'll be happy to give respecs, because doing otherwise would just be silly.
Kick Assassins asks, are you planning on coming out with studio quality Audible books?
Let's come out with the game first. After that, who knows? I certainly would like to come out with a couple graphic novels, a board game, and some other things before, books on tape.
Odovik says, Tinnis asks, hills can affect mobility already. Will weather or other terrain types impact mobility too?
Yes. We've said that also right from the beginning. We want, if we're going to go to the trouble of putting weather in the game, then it shouldn't be just, for visuals. If it's raining really hard, and I've used this example, before. If it's really raining hard, archers are going to have a harder time. Your terrain, your ability to go up hills should decline. Are we going to go as far as to turn ground into mud? That's a whole different story. But we can certainly make weather affect things without having to do the more difficult of, hey, that was ground and now it's, California, Southern California after 3 days of rain. We don't want to go, we can't go that far. At least not yet.
Tototata asks, can we name our spells and make our characters shout it with the Japanese accent when you cast it, anime style?
That would be kind of awesome, I know. Certainly you can name your own spells. We already have that. But it would be cool to be able to do that. But yeah, for now, just naming of spells.
Okay, Odolvik says, Veruca asks, pure healers and mages both need to be in a group to function and cannot solo effectively, apparently because they are both easily interrupted. How will pure tanks, aka heavy fighters, be given an equivalent need to be in a group?
Well, look, this is something we've said right from the beginning. It depends. First of all, it depends on what you're doing. Do you need a pure tank if you guys are just going to go out and try to raid empty homes or unprotected homes? Possibly not. Of course, they'll be useful if you get into a fight. On the other hand, when it comes to sieges, yeah, you kind of want the heavy tanks around there to try to soak up some of the damage for the clothies, as well as to work with the siege engines and to help to protect the siege engines. Same with if you're taking an offensive, if you want your tanks to take an offensive role when it comes to going over the battlements and doing the sort of stuff that they can do and survive when it comes to a siege.
Odolvik says, Poxer asks, I like the idea, in addition to basic guards, could we consider bidding on and hiring unique guards?
Yeah, I know this question. I saw this beforehand. So in terms of hiring NPCs, yes, we have talked about that. Yes, they could be functional. Yes, they could be useful. No promises, because that requires some really good AI. And it's not that we're not capable or don't have the people who are capable of doing it. It's just a lot of work that has to be done really, really well. We've seen the problems, obviously, in various games with pet AIs, where it's hard to get them to do exactly what you need them to do. So imagine how much more difficult it would be for guard AIs for a caravan. Sure, they can do simple things, that's easy, but not the more complicated kind of decision making that you would make as players when you're guarding a caravan. So is it something that we could do if we wanted to? Of course, yes. Is it worth a lot of time right now? Of course, no. And we'll see what happens.
On the YouTube chat, Slaposaurus Rex asks, will there be gunpowder or flamethrowers?
No to the gunpowder for now, certainly. Flamethrowers are just magic. So yes, there will be things that would act like flamethrowers.
Hilarion asks, will there be only certain areas where you can build a realm defense structure, or can you freely choose where to build?
If you, without going into too much detail about the plot system, as we've talked about this point before, within your own realm or outside the realms, there are limitations in terms of the number of plots you can own, the size of the plots, in terms of where they are. That is something that's still to be determined. But yeah, the simplest way to look at it is the further you get from your realm, the easier it gets to build what you want. When you're within the realm, there'll be even more. When you're within your realm, there needs to be obviously more rules applied. We can't have that kind of gold rush or land rush that other games have had. So you won't be able to just go and take as many plots as you would want. Further out, there's obviously a lot less strictness about what you can do in terms of both capturing and building.
A couple of cool comments. Swazi has just a heads up for Mark. I've nearly completed a small village to go with the dock asset.
Nice. Can't wait. You do great work.
And also, Kick Assassins says, damn, I can't wait to have some badass, super light and agile sword that is amazing.
Well, and that's the thing. And look, we've said this right from the beginning. It really just takes being a little bit clever, a little more, detail-oriented when you look at various items and go, what can we do to make them different? You just don't default to the immediate, oh, this does more damage, this absorbs more damage. What else can we do to make them more interesting? And that's what we want to do, and we need to do, in a horizontal system. In a vertical system, obviously you don't have to. But in a horizontal system, if you're not being clever, you don't have much of a system. It really then devolves to, nobody really cares about the items because they're not different from each other. But in our game, they will be. They have to be.
Shinod in the YouTube chat asks, have you ever considered publishing the game on Steam sometime after launch so you can have more potential players?
Yeah, we've talked about that. I don't think there'll be a problem putting it up on Steam after launch. Certainly we're not going down the easy access, the early access route. For now, I don't see a need to do that. But after the game is further along, after launch, at launch, we'll figure it out. But based on everything I've read and the agreements from Steam, unless they've changed it in the last few months, we see no reason why we wouldn't want to be on Steam. Steam is a great service. Obviously, the number one, at least in this part of the world. I can't speak for Asia. I think Tencent has a very popular one as well. But certainly in North America and Europe, Steam is number one. So yes, we very much would like to be on it down the road.
Bladesy Wu asks, is there a high chance of the PvP after some time developing a meta? And if that happens, will CSG implement things to shake up the meta so PvP does not become stale?
Yeah, you've got to do that. Certainly, look, and I know people won't be happy when I mention this, but, we tried to shake things up back at Mythic. We needed to do that. Our PvP was becoming stale. the numbers that we saw were declining a lot. So yeah, we'll do the same thing. Hopefully we'll do better, and that, by the way, is not meant as an insult at all. I was obviously at the helm of Mythic at the time, but look, things don't always work out the way you hope. So yes, would we be willing to shake things up? Absolutely. And the beauty of the design of the world, the way the islands fit in, and the other things we can do with that, it gives us a lot of freedom to shake things up without blowing up the existing world. So yes, have no fear, we will be willing to do that.
Fus Gaiden asks, will it be allowed to build within the depths?
Wow, I think that's the first time anyone has asked me that question. Well done. Well done.
Every now and then.
Yeah, that's a great one. So the answer is yes. You will be able to do some building there. The details, not going to talk about, but well done. Really well done. 2 thumbs up.
Brando2 asks, when the abilities get their own particle FX, are you expecting those numbers to be similar to the current firework numbers?
Don't know. And the reason we don't know yet is that right now we're still building out, obviously, the VFX system. This is, as we've talked about in the updates, this is pass 1 of the new system. Over the next few months, we're going to be making other adjustments to it, making it more powerful and making it faster. We've got some other things planned for after we go into Beta 1 to get even more improvements out of it, performance-wise. That's going to determine Mike's budget for the effects. Right now, for those of you who have been in the game during the bot test, you've heard me say we've had about 200,000 particle effect triangles going off at the same, on the screen at the same time. We've already, or will have that number up significantly in the next few weeks, and we want to go higher than that as well. So once we have that, then Mike will absolutely be able to know, what his budget is, for creating the various VFX. And of course, the amount of fun Mike gets to have is definitely a direct correlation to the amount of damage he can do with VFX. So, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be able to give Mike lots of things to blow up and make really cool, just as he did, back in the days of Mythic.
Tamanus asks, who did Mark punch to hurt his wrist?
Oh no, for those who've seen me in these podcasts over the years, I've had, like most, older, former programmers are now writer. I have wrist issues every so often. So, yeah, this is the first time I've actually worn this in, I think, at least a year since I put it on the last time. So, yeah, I didn't punch anyone. Just I've been doing a lot of writing over the last few weeks, and I think it just finally, finally irritated the nerve enough that it said no mas. So I'm mostly done writing for the day.
Lodoween says, I have an idea for a new MJ challenge. MJ's answers have to be inversely proportional to the length of the question asked.
That would be fun to do sometime, wouldn't it?
5-minute warning, folks. Warlord Malakin was asking me this on Morning with Max. Could we have half ogres, maybe replacing golems, as a playable race for the Arthurians? Very tall, athletic build, non-hunchback man-bear pigs, like Saravok from Baldur's Gate.
Well, nobody's going to replace the golems. The golems are part of CU lore. I think they fit very nicely. Could there be other races? Yeah, don't worry about that, Max. Could there be other races? Absolutely. Look, one of the things that I would love to do, and again, I've been very clear about this for now a few years. We want to bring in more races, more human races, as well as more inhuman races too. It's a question of time. The good news is, thankfully, the way we've designed the game, it's not going to be as important to have the kind of racial gear, racial armor, racial weapons, etc., so that bringing them in isn't as big of a deal as it would be in other games.
All right. I think I'll ask one more from the YouTube chat and then a final question to wrap this up. Volchod MMOs says, can't wait for the next alpha. I think it means beta. You guys are the best. Do you folks plan on having crafters be able to leave personalized names on gear?
Yes, absolutely. We have talked about that right from the beginning.
Well, since that was a fast one, another one from YouTube. Jonathan Bishop asks, is it possible to get a more descriptive list of spells and abilities so we can make fan art VFX?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've said this over the last few months that as we get closer and closer to beta, we'll be doing more presentations. Ben will be doing more presentations. Our website will be updated as well with information about the components. Yeah, that's just nothing. That is something that's not worth doing now because until we get closer to beta, any work that we, almost any time that we spend that's not helping us towards beta, we just need to be really careful about. And that would be one of those things. But no worries. We've been very, very clear that we plan on sharing information. We've proven how we've done that in the past. We will do that in the future. So listing all that stuff, having as much out for our backers and potentially future backers to see and get excited about, we will definitely be doing that for beta 1.
All right, and for the final question, how about this one? Masahi Kokobe asks, reflecting on the past 4 years, 4 years plus from the tech demo Smackhammer to what we have today, could you reflect on that time and give some thoughts on the future?
Yeah, that's a good short question. I could answer like in a Mel Brooks movie and do Marcel Marceau going, no. In terms of reflections, I'll try to keep this short, but it's a very, certainly is a very good question. If we had to do it all over again, we would certainly make the same game. We'd certainly run our campaign mostly the same way. But there are changes we would make. I mean, you live and learn, right? You make mistakes. Going forward, I think the tech that we are building is going to put the studio in the position that can very easily, much more easily, make any game, that we as a company want to make. And we've talked about a whole bunch of interesting games, or things that interest us that we love to make games out of. And I think that, once we get past what has been an amazingly difficult last 14 months since we announced, right? Been 14? Since we announced rehabilitation.
I haven't been counting.
Yeah. Once we get past that, which we almost are, thankfully, I think it's going to be a lot better going forward. I mean, look, there's mistakes that anyone makes, whether out of sometimes hubris or simply because things bounce badly. We had a few bad bounces, obviously, which we shared with you folks. Would I have done things differently? Absolutely. Would I have changed a lot of things that affected backers? Not much. It's not something where it's not this kind of reflection doesn't cause me to go, oh God, I would never do Camelot Unchained, or we wouldn't go for the large-scale battles, or we wouldn't make our own engine. All those big decisions weren't things that I just pulled out of my head, or that Andrew pulled out of his head. We talked about a lot of this stuff as a team. We talked about the tech challenges, and here we are. Yes, late, obviously, But 4 years later, is there an MMO that is using Unity that has managed to succeed yet? And the answer is still no. Is there an engine out there that's proven that it could use large-scale battle, be used in large-scale battles? The answer is still no. While Unity and Unreal are great engines, they really are in different ways. Neither one of them would have done the job that we needed done. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And so our decision-making back then, 100% spot on. Especially if we had made the original release date, right? That would have been a disaster. You know, we would have been like other companies or other developers to sell you this, but instead deliver this. And we weren't going to do that because we would have had to. If we said we're committed to Unity or we're committed even to Unreal, we wouldn't have been able to deliver the kind of game we're capable of delivering now. So, you know, in terms of reflection, that there's nothing I would have changed. You know, not when it comes to stuff like that. Bigger stuff going forward, I'm just excited, really excited about where the tech is. We are doing some amazing things. And I haven't gone out on the hype train a lot. I certainly have promised I wasn't going to buy a ticket. But the time for that is starting to get in our rear view. What we have done, and I can't put too fine a point on this, nobody else has been able to do in the industry. Nobody. And this is not, you know, just hubris. This is not just pride in the accomplishments of, you know, our team. This is a fact. And just as I said to the people who joined us for the Big Bot Battles, you know, can you name a game where you've been able to have 1,000 players? Because bots are players. 1,000 players staring you in the face, or 800 staring you in the face, even 500 staring you right in the face, and be able to play just as if there were only 50 of them, or in some cases only 20 of them. That answer is no. We are the only ones. So, yeah, I am really proud of that, and I am very excited about what that could mean for us going forward. Because when you have a piece of tech like we have, and it's not just a single piece, it's a client, it's a server, that is in so many ways better than anything that's out there, that gives you a lot of freedom going forward. And it's getting to be about time that we start talking about this a little bit more, well, with a little more pride and with a little bit noise, because damn, just damn, 1,000 players, and it was smooth. We haven't done it yet, but we're getting awfully close. And when we reach that point, then, you know, we should be very proud. Because 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even last year, people were telling us we couldn't do it. Senior engineers were telling us we couldn't do it. Yet, we've done it. So, how's that for reflection?
Pretty cool. You want to open some
presents?
presents?
Let's open some prezzies.
Alright. That's fine. That should be good. Now, I don't actually know who these are from.
So we got mystery gifts.
2 mystery gifts. There you go. People sometimes send us things. Asahi Kokobe says that was a pretty awesome reflection, in my opinion.
Thank you very much. That's weird. It's like a tag within a tag? Oh. Do you know who did this? You seem to.
No, I don't.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
It's a
Oculus.
Oculus sensor.
It's a sensor.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
It looked like another mic. That's what I thought it was for a second.
Nope. So that wasn't from a backer.
Oh, okay.
This one.
This is a beast. Here, let me move this more.
This might be... Hang on. This may not be a backer as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, Andrew says we ordered that.
Okay. We ordered that, so so we won't be opening it. So, hey, because...
Tyler trolled me.
I'm sorry?
Tyler trolled me. He left these stacked up here.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so, because Tyler trolled Max... Oh, there it is. I'll take a couple more questions and then wrap up.
Oh, a couple more questions. Okay.
Yeah, since we didn't do the opening.
All right. Wait, Andrew says, I don't know what's in the big box.
Oh. All right. I think I do, but let me be sure.
Oh, he doesn't. He meant the Oculus sensor.
Oh,
we
okay.
ordered that.
Oh,
okay. Open the big box. Everyone's dying now. Sacric says, I sent you guys a bomb, so...
Yeah, I know what this is.
Okay. All right. Ask us. Oh, Lodoween asks what's in the big box. Well, that's something we ordered for the studio, not actually a present. All right. We're going to ask a few more questions. We won't leave you like this. We're gonna do a few more questions to close out Q&A.
Well, actually, you know what?
Just box questions.
Yeah.
Gold-plated duck masks, right? All right, here we go. All right, Gwalch asks, given what happened this week to Albion Online, DDoS attacks, are you guys worried you may encounter similar problems at launch?
Yes, of course. That's something we've talked about, here before, even before the Albion Online issues. It's certainly something that anyone who makes an online game, anyone who runs a service has to think about. So yes, of course we're thinking about it. Of course we've talked about it, and of course we're going to take what steps we need to protect ourselves.
Odovic says, Poxer asks, could guilds get the ability to name their guards?
Honestly, I haven't even thought about that. I don't see why not, but have to see.
Anila Gamir on the YouTube asks, Mark, will you be an NPC in game?
Oh gosh, like what? Lord Fairfax? No plans for that as of yet.
Rumman asks, if we have the ability to name abilities, will other realms see the name of the ability? Grumman hits you with the people's elbow.
Yeah, that's obviously something that that could be abused by people. So that's something that we have to deal with.
Lodoween asks, do the home cities of the Arthurians and Vikings have names yet, and what are they?
No, and so no answer.
Ulvik says, Jason L. asks, Can we see more art of the classes? The ones on the website are quite good. Would like to see more, maybe showcasing different tiers of gear.
Yeah, there will be. But keep in mind, gear isn't class-based in the way other games is. So can we get more gear? Yes. Can we get more art about classes? Yes. But gear is not class-based, generally. Okay, we'll go for 4 more minutes.
4 more minutes, folks. Lodoween asks, when can we expect to see the refunded tiers back on the Founders store?
Before we get into beta, again, doing things like that, putting up the tiers now would seem like we're trying to raise additional money. And certainly we don't mind additional money, but I've been very clear that until we earn the right to do that again, that I wasn't going to do anything like that.
Brand asks, will player, guild, or client-built structures show ownership titles for all to see who owns it?
Actually, I hadn't thought about that question. Yeah, let me think about it. It's not. I don't think that's ever come up for discussion. Ever. Good question.
Odilvik says, Tinnis asks, will servers start with identically sponged and arranged starting island maps and resource locations?
No.
Volchod MMOs asks, what has been the best part of development thus far?
Certainly the Kickstarter funding was number 1. Number 2 might be when we were able to just have the large-scale battles. That was one of those, when you're dealing with complex systems, and whether it's rehabilitation, reanimation, VFX, even though you've designed it well, even though the people who are in charge are brilliant, you never know until you actually put this stuff into production. And so, did I always have confidence that, Andrew and his insight, or, George's work on VFX, or, the Musketeers' work on rehabilitation? Did I think that was going to work out? Sure. Were there moments that, I and other people were worried? Of course, because that's just part of the process. So when I was able to go into the game and see all the bots, with it, again, Andrew's reanimation system, or George's and Dave's work on the VFX system, or the guys' work on the rehabilitation, and see that all working together, and to see that, hey, look at that frame rate, look at those projectiles being fired, look at all the things that are happening on the screen at the same time, and it looks great. It looks glorious. That may be my second favorite moment. Lord knows I had other very fine and funny and enjoyable moments, over the last few years. But just being able to sit there and watch, while it still may be a little premature to say a dream come true, but pretty darn close to it, to have that kind of battle and to see that all the hard work that the team has done to get us to that place, all that being rewarded by the game working as expected, not as intended, but as expected, because that made us all feel really good. So I would think that is right now my favorite post Kickstarter funding for this game, because that really was a culmination of some tremendous efforts being made by the team, in order to pull that off. And so, yeah, that was pretty darn cool. I think that's a great question. So thank you for that. The reflection question before was brilliant too, but this one was also a very, very excellent follow-up. So look, folks, Again, no test, no scheduled test this weekend. We may leave hatchery up. I think it's in pretty good shape, so we may leave it for IT folks. Maybe alphas, I'll let you know, but most likely just IT. Because the big things, obviously, were the big bot battles. So having that open when there aren't big bot battles, isn't all that useful right now. But certainly next week we will have either big bot battles during the week and or big bot battle on the weekend. So next week should be a lot of fun. So folks, as always, we thank you. Speaking for everyone here at CSE, we thank you for your support. We thank you for your patience. And if the last 2 weeks are any indication of what's going to be coming up in the next few months for you, I think you should look at that and be really, really happy. Because I know even among you folks who are backing us, there were many people who didn't think we'd be able to pull it off, who, quite frankly, were very honest and said, hey, if you can only get half that far, MJ, that's going to be good enough for us, because that's still better than anyone else could do. Well, this week we showed we can get more than halfway. So I hope you're all happy. I hope you all look at what we've done over these showed, because we certainly didn't just write this code in 2 weeks. What we showed over the last 2 weeks, and it's time to start getting a little bit more excited about what the future can bring, because that technical achievement, that again 1,000 bots and backers, that wasn't a video, that wasn't faked, that wasn't, we didn't cut corners or cheat. What you saw was 1,000 networked, fully autonomous bots playing with players, and everything ran really well. So yeah, maybe time to get a little bit excited. Having said that, I will see you all next week. Have a great weekend. Be safe, and see you later.
See you later.